Michaela Coel, welcome to the Daily Social Distancing Show.
Thanks, Trevor.
Um, you have written a show that everybody has tried to describe. You created the show that's been a smash hit on HBO. I May Destroy You. Some people have called it tough viewing. Others have called it necessary viewing. I had one friend who said to me, "You got to watch the show." And I said, "What is it about?" And they said it's about sexual assault. And then I watched the show and I was like, "No, this show is about everything." As the creator of the show, what is I May Destroy You about?
I think that you're right. I think it's about everything. I sometimes say that, but I realize it doesn't work when you're pitching to studios. It's about everything. Um, but I think it is.
Yeah, it's interesting because like if Seinfeld was a show about nothing, this is really a show about everything for me because it's difficult at times to watch. Not because it's hard to watch, but because of the questions that the show makes you ask of yourself, of society, of the things you've said or experienced or done. And I think what really strikes a chord with a lot of people is you wrote a show that was loosely based on your experience with sexual assault. When you were writing this, did you go, I'm just putting everything I've experienced into the show? Or were there moments where you thought, this is what I would have done, should have done, could have done, or these are some of the conversations I wish would have been had around my real life experience?
Interesting. It's definitely very fictional, but the assault is really not exact. I wanted to purposely have a distinction so that my own experiences were separate to Arabella's, but it's very fine where they differ. It's very fine. But in terms of the journey of the character, yes, that's partly reality, but partly fiction. It's hard to know what amount.
Some of the characters you've written in the show, in normal shows, would just be the good guys. Like your character Arabella has friends where one minute I'm like, these are the most amazing supportive friends, and then I go like, wait, her friends are part of the story of sexual assault, and I don't know how to feel about this because she doesn't know how to feel about this. And then there are times when you make me not like the lead character Arabella, where I go like, well, she's being an asshole right now, and I know she's a victim of sexual assault, but she's an asshole. Am I allowed to feel that this person is an asshole even though they're a victim of sexual assault? That's a very complex story that you've created.
It is, isn't it? But I really want us to try and see her as an asshole. For me, that moment, especially in episode 9, where she really goes off at Kwame, I
Yes.
need us to understand that Arabella's being an asshole. That's kind of like the point of that episode, is that you can't just follow a hero blindly. And Arabella is the hero of the show. She's the hero of that episode, but she's gonna, I don't know if we can swear. Maybe asshole is a swear word in America. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you can. No, you can say whatever you want.
Okay, she's gonna up, and I really wanted to experiment with how ugly we could make her, and then ended up making it a Halloween episode because I guess I'm also quite curious about the faults within myself, and it felt like for me at the stage that I was writing, I'd almost maybe forgotten the real ugliness that I can possess. And I think in life, it's easy to forget that, especially when we're living quite traumatized lives. It can lead you into very binary thinking as a way of surviving. So I needed Arabella to see like a mirror to herself, right? Like a true mirror of her amazing qualities, but also her really ugly qualities. She completely misreads the situation. She's not there for her friend. She's not seeing the nuance of his experience at all. Yeah, I find it really interesting. I find it interesting that some of my friends were like, "But Michaela, you're not saying that like what Kwame did was wrong, right?" And it's like, I'm not saying that anything is wrong or right. I'm just putting characters in a frame and I'm watching them interact. I'm allowing them to interact, and I want us to watch and see how uncomfortable it is when you it's not so easy to place yourself in a camp. It's really hard when you can see where both sides are coming from.
One of the most difficult conversations this show continuously has is the conversation about consent. There's no denying that the Me Too movement has brought to the fore a conversation about consent. What is consent? How do we define consent? Your show goes through that in so many different ways. We see it's Terry's character who has who has a threesome that she consented to, but then upon discovering that the guys that she thought were, you know, just happened to be guys she bumped into, they planned this happened to be threesome. You know, we see this with Arabella's character. She has consensual sex with a guy who takes off his condom during sex that she doesn't know about. And then he tries to make it seem like it was consensual and she's crazy. And you have so many different worlds of consent that you're playing with. Do you think that you found the answer, or do you think the point of the show is to make us ask the questions about what consent is and what it should be?
Well, I think it's really simple. I think that if Terry or Arabella during episode 4, you know, or Terry in the threesome, if they had the full details of what they were experiencing, would they consent? Would Terry consent if she met that guy and said, hey, this is my friend, we are looking for someone to fall into our plan, we're going to pretend we're strangers and we're looking for someone to are you down? She'd be like, I don't know. I mean, possibly she might not be up for that. I think if someone said, hey, yeah, great, I'm really glad you want to have sex and I'm really glad you've asked for a condom, but in the middle of this, I'm going to take it off when you're not looking. Are you up for it? Probably going to say no. This is why I call it a theft of consent, because details are purposely hidden from you so that you consent. But if you saw those details, you wouldn't consent. So for me, this is sexual assault. I think legally, this is sexual assault. Legally, this is rape. However, you jump from continent to continent and the rules change. And this is what I find, you know, it's fascinating, isn't it?
Before I let you go, many of the women who work at The Daily Show have asked me to say thank you to you for displaying a woman's period with all the nuance that it deserves and not just landing on it as a punchline. And so what I will ask, as someone who loves the show, why did you choose to talk about a woman's period in the way that you did?
Yes. Well, one of the things I very much love is that is one of the only moments of consensual sex in the series. And for me, again, it's like if we're going to have consensual sex, it has to be interesting. It has to say something other than, oh, two people having sex. So I thought that was a great thing to show. Also, that is inspired by my real life. I've had wonderful experiences with guys who gave more honor to my blood than I did when I was disgusted and like, they were like, chill out, like, it's a period. So I thought it was nice to pay some homage to those men, that not all men go at periods, you know.
Well, Michaela, I could talk to you forever. I thank you for being on the show, and thank you for creating what, honestly, in my opinion, is one of the most crucial conversation starters that we can have around consent, around sex, around identity, and genuinely around everything. So thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thank you, Trevor. I'm a really big fan, and it's been lovely to talk and meet you.